So I just want to make this quick short video as an intro, just because this what I'm releasing, this inner child energy activation and meditation, comes from a series, a program that I created called Reconnect. And this comes from the first time I did it last October. So whilst the second one that I've just done in April is different, this is still really powerful, still really relevant. It's still all full of truth, light, energy activations, transmissions, then obviously a meditation to go on a deep healing journey with your inner child. So I just wanted to say that because you'd be a bit like, what's going on when it started, because it's going to probably refer to the first one, even though this can be done standalone, absolutely, just so that it made sense. Just to keep that in mind, that it's a week 2 out of a 7-week series. The only other caveat I'd put on this is, when it comes to inner child healing, if you are really suffering right now, if you know that you've got some really serious trauma in your childhood, and you are suffering from the physical effects of that right now, then I'd always recommend doing this work one-on-one with a therapist. So you've got a therapist there with you to guide you through inner child work, so they can deal with you if something comes up that you need help dealing with. So that's the only caveat that I'd put in there. Otherwise, for most people, and like I say, I've never, the only reason why I say that is because, you'll see many inner child healings out on the internet, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients doing inner child healing, even clients that have got, real severe trauma in the past and done inner child healing. And there's never any problem. They can do it on their own. They can do it with me. But I once had one experience with one client who was suffering from a terminal illness. And was in a real bad way. She knew she needed one-on-one anyway. You should know a person when you need one-on-one, but she was in such a bad way. And when we did the inner child healing work, with obviously it was wider than the inner child healing, there was more that was going on, but I was glad that I was there with her to guide her through that. She needed that support to go through it. So if that's you, and you'll know if that's you. But otherwise, enjoy. It's such a powerful healing. I absolutely love doing inner child work. You'll feel that in the transmission. It's something that's absolutely revolutionized my life, upgraded my belief systems, and it is still work that I continue to do. There is still, we're not going to heal all of our inner children, all of our trauma from this life and the past life in one session. It's a journey that we go on, but we can start to heal. And we can do a lot of work in one session, as I probably talk about in this energy transmission anyway. So it's such a beautiful journey to go on, to start reuniting, reconciling with our inner children, start healing them. If you're watching this, your inner child has guided you to this, and it is awaiting your arrival. So enjoy. Okay, so welcome to week 2. So week 2, we're going to be talking about collapsing old timelines and reclaiming our wholeness. So we're going to talk about the inner child, about who is the inner child and why is the inner child so critical. So the inner child is the divine child aspect of the self. And this is an aspect of the self that is often unacknowledged, is often denied, rejected, and abandoned. So we are conditioned to believe that we get to a certain age and then we become an adult and we're no longer a child. And from a higher perspective, that's not actually truth. From a spiritual perspective, from a higher truth, we always carry an aspect of the divine child. We are children of the cosmos, of the universe, and we always carry that aspect. And it's the divine child aspect that has gone through a lot of corruption, a lot of wounding, and a lot of trauma within its experiences, that then gets frozen on old past timelines. So parts of ourselves become fragmented, almost like splintered, energetic parts of the self that get stuck on these old timelines. But until we start to acknowledge and resolve them, well, in the present moment, what happens is those timelines start to impact our present and therefore our future. So we're replaying the past in the present, often unconsciously. So we're replaying certain patterns that are coming from that wounded self, from that frozen aspect of the self. And the divine child, in its purest form, is innocence. It's the energetic of innocence. And it's the energetic of curiosity. It's that curious spirit within us. It's that playfulness, that part of us that wants to explore, that wants excitement, that wants adventure. It's the part of us that is in wonderment at the planet and the beauty of the planet. And we can look at babies and we can see that they can just be, and they can be happy, and they can be in awe and in wonder. And also when we look at children, they are excited and they are adventurous, and we want to explore. And that is the divine child in its purest aspect. The other aspect of the self that we have is the divine parent aspect. And through working with the divine child aspect, which is the part that is frozen on these timelines, we start to reawaken the divine parent aspect of the self, which is made up of two energetics. It's the divine masculine energy and it's the divine feminine energy. So this is not to do with sex, male and female. We all carry both of these energies within the self. And a lot of these energies are out of balance in most people. But when we start to bring balance back to both of these energies, masculine and feminine, within the self, then we create a union, a divine marriage inside, and we can reparent, we can reintegrate that divine child, the aspects of the self that is stuck, the pieces that are fragmented and frozen in time, so that we can change the present and therefore change the future. Because when we have parts of us stuck in past timelines and we're recreating the past in the present, then our future is our past. There are other timelines available to us. All possibilities exist, but it's just which timeline we're going to tune our frequency into. So as we cleanse and purify our energetic fields, our divine masculine and feminine aspects, so that we can reparent the child back in, then we automatically tune into our higher timelines. So the divine masculine energy within the self is connected to the physical element, to the earth, and the feminine energy is connected to the non-physical realm. So the feminine is the intuition. The feminine is the creator. The feminine gives birth to life. So often in this society, we are led to believe that God is a man in the sky. And often many people move away from religion because inside they know that is not truth. God is not a man in the sky. And if God is not a gender, God is source, is light, love, energy. God gives birth to all that is creation. So if God was a gender, God would be more aligned with feminine, because source gives birth to everything that is in creation. So the feminine is the intuition, is the creativity, is the nourishment. The feminine is the nurturer. When we are in balance with our divine feminine energy, we are nurturing to the self. We nurture the divine child aspect of the self. We are loving. We have compassion. We have empathy. We have understanding, and we are in receptivity. The feminine is the beingness. The feminine, when she's in her goddess energy, so the feminine energy is the goddess energy. When she's in the goddess energy, she's attracting into her field all that she needs. She doesn't need to go out and seek another to fulfill her. She doesn't need to go out and seek anything, because she attracts everything to her. And the masculine, when the masculine is in his divine masculine energy, well, he's the protector. He's the doer. He is the grounder in of creation. And he's the leader energy as well. He leads and is courageous. And whilst the feminine is also courageous, these energies are not opposing energies. They are compatible energies. They are two halves of the same whole. They are the yin and the yang. So as we bring balance to the masculine and the feminine energies, then we bring balance into our life and harmony into our life. We've got that divine union within. So we have these two aspects of the self. And then we have the third aspect, which is the higher aspect. That is our source connection. That is our guidance system. That is our access, our plug into unconditional love. And we're going to go more into the higher aspects. So we're always working with the higher aspect. In every single session, we are always working with the higher aspect of the self. And we will go more into what the higher aspect is in session 5. But these three aspects create, the Holy Trinity. This is one perspective, one representation of the Holy Trinity within. There are other representations of the Holy Trinity, this being one of them, the divine child, which is innocence, purity, the divine parent, the masculine and the feminine, the nurturer and the protector, and then the higher aspect, the unconditional love. So the inner child at its purest form is innocent, is purity, but the inner child has been corrupted, as everything in this reality that we agreed to play in. Everything's been inverted, upside down, inside out. And the inner child has become very identified with the ego, and the ego is the false self. The ego has imprinted upon the inner child, upon the energy of the inner child, that has created illusions for that pure, innocent child energetic, that has led that inner child to believe it is what it is not. And that is the parts of us in the here and the now that feel like we have been abandoned, that feel like we have been rejected, or we are rejected, that feels like we are separate, not enough. But really, those wounds of abandonment and rejection and separation are actually a deep wound that occurs for all of us as we come into this reality and we are cut off from source, from our divine divinity, from our connection. And then those wounds, we then see them mirrored out in our experiences. And these wounds that we experience of rejection and abandonment, of feeling that we are separate from, create all these feelings of not being enough, being less than. We feel that we are bad, we are wrong, we are unloved, and we are unlovable. And as children, because we do not understand that we have been cut off from source, we do not understand that the love is within the self. We have to go outside of ourselves to get that love. We yearn that connection. We yearn for that love. We yearn for that connection. We are yearning for home spirit. And in that yearning, we must go outside of ourselves to our caregivers, to people that we see as being in authority, in hierarchical positions to us. They are the people that we look up to as children and we go to for our love. But that love often comes with conditions. That love is usually not unconditional love, and that's not often because the person, the caregiver, is bad or wrong, but it's because they themselves have not had unconditional love. They do not understand what it is to be loved unconditionally. They have also got aspects of the wounded child that have been unacknowledged, denied, not healed in the self. So often what happens is love comes with conditions, and we start to develop subconscious programmings, like the subconscious program around people pleasing. That is a huge program within the collective consciousness, and it's an artificial inserted program where we start to learn as children that in order to get love, in order to feel validated, to get attention, to be approved of, we must please another. And what happens often is, if we please another,
we get love, we get rewarded. If we displease another, love is often withheld from us. And that creates that people pleasing program. And as children, it's actually a really adaptive program because it helps us to navigate our experiences, because we need love as children. We need security and we need attention. So that behavior really is quite adaptive as a child. It helps us to navigate, but as an adult, it becomes maladaptive in that we still have it deep rooted within us that we should please another. We feel, and it might be conscious or unconscious, many times it's unconscious, but things are starting to come into the consciousness now. But we feel that if we please another, that we will get love, we will be accepted, we will be validated. And we worry that if we speak our truth, if we show the true parts of ourselves, that we will be rejected, we will be abandoned, that people will not like us for the truth of who we are. But what that actually does when we are people pleasing as adults is it actually reaffirms to the inner child. It reaffirms to the self that I do not matter. I am not important. My needs do not matter. My truth does not matter. So it reaffirms that belief that I am not enough. So we have all these wounded, traumatized aspects of the self. The inner child has been robbed of its innocence, and it has distorted our reality and our perception of the self. And often the inner child is denied and repressed because we have subconscious fears of seeing that part of us again, the parts that we have buried, denied, repressed. But those wounds are always being reflected in our reality, in our disempowering beliefs that are creating repeating patterns. So when we believe that we're not good enough, we're not enough, then we're going to keep experiencing that on the mirror of reality. It's going to keep showing up for us in certain aspects of our relationships, in our work, in our interactions, because it's just mirroring back those patterns that need to be resolved. And we start to attract more and more experiences to the self, because we are electromagnetic beings, we are energy, we are vibration, we are frequency. And if our frequency is plugged up with lots of what we are not, then we're going to attract more of that into our reality, so that we can see what we are not, so that we can purify and cleanse our frequency. So it's not all bad though, because the negative creates a positive reaction. And negative and positive are not good and bad. They are neutral. It's just that we have been led to believe that certain things are negative and that is bad, and certain things are positive and that is good, but that's not the truth. It's what meaning we attach to things. So through these challenges, through the illusion of being separate, through the illusion of being cut off from source, from unconditional love, from our power, well, it creates a tension within the self. It creates momentum and it propels us forward. It creates an outward expression and a seeking. And through that outward expression and that seeking comes expansion and growth. And ultimately, it leads us back to awareness, which is our purpose. So often people believe that our purpose is a job, but actually, our purpose is to expand and grow. That is our true purpose. And we can do that in every single interaction that we have. So if we're in a job that we don't love, we can still expand and grow. If we're in a relationship that we don't love, there is still an opportunity for expansion and growth, because that is the true purpose. So through this tension and momentum, through these challenges, we learn important lessons about the self. We learn the strength that we hold within the soul. We learn the courage that we have, the resilience, the compassion. We start to unfold lots of different aspects, and we start to grow and expand these aspects of the self through these so-called negative experiences. So that outward expression of seeking, well, just like a boomerang, what goes out eventually will come back, and all these experiences take us full circle and bring us back to the self. And ultimately, this leads to our awakening, which is part of our mission in this now time reality, to awaken, to wake up from the dream, to remember that we are connected to source, to wake up from the illusion and to become self-realized again, because it's in that discovery that we start to bring in feelings of bliss and joy. Through that connection to the soul, we start to plug into a higher frequency, because there is a higher frequency available to us if we open up to it. And through that self-realization, we open up to those higher frequencies, and we start to wake up from the illusion. That which once was a veil before our eyes starts to thin, and we start to see through the lies. We start to see through the manipulation. It all starts to fall down, and we start to connect back to our source power. We start to connect back to unity, consciousness. So we're evolving, we are ascending from separateness consciousness. It's the separateness consciousness that creates so many wounds, but it also creates expansion. But through remembering unity consciousness, that we are all connected, and we start experiencing this more in our lives through synchronicities, we start to wake up and realize we are so much more connected than we ever realized. We start to become more telepathic. Our multidimensional self starts to come online. We start to plug back into the organic divine matrix, and we start to remember who we are. And we start to realize that we're all connected, and we agreed to play these roles in each other's lives to wake each other up. That is our ultimate desire. So let me just move this out of the way. Hold on. I don't want to, sorry, I just want to make sure you can see that. This little image here is a visual for the meditation, so I'm just going to leave that there. You can just sort of absorb that image. But how do we start to heal and integrate the inner child? Well, we do it first by acknowledging them. We've got to acknowledge that it exists, that it is an aspect of the self. We know with anything that we want to change, if we want to shift, if we've got an addiction, if we're in denial of it, then we cannot change it, we cannot shift it. We have to acknowledge and face the inner child, the parts of us that we have repressed, that we have denied, that we have judged, that we have criticized, that we have withheld love from. And we have to start becoming our own loving parent. We have to realize that it's our responsibility to step into that divine parent aspect of self. And in doing that, often the word responsibility has been distorted as well, because as children, responsibility, and as adults, responsibility has been distorted, and it feels hard, and it feels like a burden. But true responsibility means to be the authority in your life. It means to take responsibility for your own feelings and everything that you feel and interact with. It means that we no longer put it onto another, so that another does not have power over the self. So as we become our loving parents, as we realize that there's no other person's words that can increase our self-worth, our self-esteem, more than the words that we say to ourselves. As kids, yes, we do need it from our parents, and we don't always get it. But as adults, it might be nice to have that affirmation from a parent. It might be nice to have that love, unconditional love from a parent, but we do not need it. When we start to realize that we have to do it for the self, we start to empower the self. So what does it look like to be our own loving parent? Well, it looks like compassion. It looks like kindness. It looks like having acceptance, understanding for the self. It looks like being non-judgmental to the self. Often we find it really easy to criticize ourselves, to be harsh with ourselves, to speak to ourselves in ways that we wouldn't dream of speaking to people that we love and cherish. But we find it so easy to speak to ourselves in those ways because we've been brought up with these distortions, which are not the truth. So we have to start taking back our power and realizing that it matters how we speak to the self, and that we do, us consciousness, we do have control over that. And whilst when we first start to become aware of how we're really speaking to the self, we might think that it's silly to speak out loud to the self and look in the mirror in the morning and say to the self, I love you, I love you, I'm proud of you, you matter to me, you're doing a good job, kid. It might seem silly to say those things, and I'm not saying you have to say those things in the mirror, but you can. But we are often saying really negative things to ourselves in our mind. So we are doing that in our mind. We are having conversations with ourselves all of the time. So it's about becoming aware of those conversations that we're having with ourselves and starting to change the narrative, starting to remember, starting to not reaffirm the lies. So whilst we can find it easy to say the negative and find it hard to say the positive, that's just because we've been programmed to believe the negative so much more than the truth about what we are. But as we start to become conscious of the parent aspect, and we start to take responsibility, and we start to change what we are saying, then we start to change our reality, and we start to automatically integrate the inner child, because it no longer feels abandoned, it no longer feels rejected, it no longer feels that it is not good enough. It starts to believe it is enough. It starts to believe it is lovable, that it deserves the best. It starts to believe it is worthy of happiness. And it's simple to become aware of this and do this, but it's not always easy. So I appreciate at first it's not always easy when we start to do this, because when we've got a program, it's like when we've created a subconscious program, it's almost running on autopilot. So if I said to you, walk backwards, you can walk backwards, but it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of focus, and it takes a lot of energy. And as we start to change the way we speak to ourselves, then we have to use effort, we have to use focus, and we have to use our energy. But once we do that for a couple of weeks, a month or so, once we're doing that consistently, then that starts to become our automatic program, and we automatically start to talk to ourselves in a much more loving way. And in doing that, your reality starts to shift. How you feel starts to shift, because you're starting to tell yourself the truth that you are enough, and it starts to change the way that you show up in your own life and how you interact with other people in your life as well. So we need to think of ourselves, we need to remember that we are the divine child aspect, and we have to think, how would we talk to a child? And we have to think, if we're talking to that child that way, is that going to help them grow and expand, or is it going to make them restrict and constrict? We have to honor the inner child as well. What does it need? It's bringing that balance into our lives, because we've all been sold a lie about working hard. It's almost and I know, like, Claire, you said this to me once, like, and it really resonated when you said to me, like, being busy is almost a badge of honor. And that is so true. And I used to say to myself, I've got a strong work ethic, and I used to think that was brilliant, but it's not brilliant. Because it denies the parts of the self, it denies the inner child. When we are working on that hamster wheel to get more money, to get a bigger house, to have more cars, more whatever, all these material things, which I'm not saying are bad, but when we put them above the self, then ultimately we're going to create a lot of dis-ease for the self, because we're not honoring the inner child. And the inner child needs fun, it needs to do whatever the inner child likes to do. So you have to think, what do you like to do? Do you like to walk in nature, swim in the sea, ride a bike, draw, paint, whatever it is you want to do? You need to give that we need to honor the inner child and give it what it needs, meet the inner child's needs. And we integrate them back into the heart space, which is what we're going to do through this hypnotic meditation. We're going to acknowledge, we're going to become the loving parent, we're going to honor the child, we're going to bring it back in from those timelines that they've been stuck on. And a really important thing as well is that self-honoring, because often the inner child feels gagged. It feels that it cannot speak its truth. So we have to start self-honoring. We have to start speaking our truth. And actually, when we come back to that divine feminine and masculine energy, part of the distortion that we've all been subjected to is that the masculine, the heart space, the feeling space has been closed down for the male. That's why men can go to war and kill each other, because the feeling space is closed down. But that is opening up organically now. And men are going to find it very difficult to do those things as we are ascending, because their heart spaces are open up. And for the feminine, we close down our throat chakra. We stop speaking our truth. And we also, from the feminine perspective, have to start speaking and reawakening the throat chakra and speaking our truth. So, and that comes with self-honoring, that integrates with self-honoring the child. So if we decide to ignore this aspect of the self, what we're going to do is we're going to create the same patterns. Then we'll continue to create the past. So our future will be the past, basically, and we'll continue to draw to us similar experiences. And ultimately, we will not jump onto our highest timeline, and we'll pass these patterns on to our children, because they do pick up from our vibration and our frequency, and they're mirroring back to us. So when we heal as a parent, when we heal the self, we change the energy with the child, and we start a healing on the child as well. Because when we actually come into these incarnations, we're not just carrying, we're not just having our own wounds that we create in this one life. We are carrying the wounds of our ancestry. We carry the wounds from our lineage. It's passed down the ancestral line. So when we go back and integrate the inner child and we heal the past, we change the past, we actually change the future. We change the future. So for our children's coming in, we change what they come in and what they have to carry and dissolve as well. So from doing the work on the self, we indirectly help everyone that is around us when it comes to children. So if we don't do that, then we do pass these patterns on, and we're going to feel more and more disconnected, more depressed and more anxious. And we're going to block ourselves from our highest expression. So what is going to be happening in this process that we're about to go through? So it is an alchemical process that is taking place. We are taking lead and we are changing it into the gold frequency, which is the true us. We are the gold standard. And we are going through a transformation and a healing of the ego. And we start to collapse those old, worn out timelines. So we become sovereign. We stop being slaves to the past. We stop being slaves to programs that are not the truth of who we are. Programs that we agreed to come in and experience certain things so we could create that expansion, that momentum, so that we could grow. But we also knew that at some point that would lead us to awaken and move back into our sovereignty. So we start to collapse those timelines. We start to heal the lineage, because the past, the present, and the future don't really exist separately. It's all on one energetic timeline. So as we go back into the past and we change the past, it changes the present, which changes the future. It changes the timeline that we plug into. We are frequency. All frequencies exist. We can think of a radio station, and we can know that when we're tuned into one radio station, other radio stations are playing. We just can't hear them because we're not tuned in. And that's the same with our realities. Once we tune into a certain frequency, once we cleanse our frequency, once we purify, then we tune into a higher station. We move into a new octave, a new band of reality. We collapse timelines and we create and shift new realities. Ultimately, we become whole again. We bring back those missing pieces of the self. As we've gone out in that outward expression, seeking those missing pieces, often, being sold that lie that it's in a relationship, that, once we get married, once we have children, that we will be fulfilled. But obviously, as adults, we start to realize that is not truth. You know, many people can be in really happy relationship, but if you're not whole in yourself, then you're not going to be able to really tune into that, accept that, and be able to integrate that. So, you know, we start to realize as we get older, it's not outside of ourselves. The missing piece is that we've been looking for is us, is within. It's different aspects of the self that have got fragmented that we need to bring back to the center. So we start to change the timeline. We start to rewrite the script. We become empowered, we become sovereign, we become responsible for the self. So that means that we're no longer at the mercy of another. No one else has power to make us feel a certain way about the self, because within the self we know that we are enough. We love the self unconditionally. So we start to claim our destiny. So often people have said to me, well, if we have a destiny, then doesn't that mean there is no free will? But free will and destiny go hand in hand, because yes, we do have a destiny. From a higher perspective, we know what is the ultimate timeline that we want to experience. We know what is the highest expression of the self, but we have free will not to choose it. We have free will to say no to that because we're in fear, because we've been too conditioned and we're too scared to choose our destiny. So we do have free will. And actually, when we choose our destiny, that's when you can see free will and destiny, well, they go hand in hand. So through this hypnotic meditation, we are doing energy work, and we do energy work on the inner child because it works rapidly. Because the truth is, we are energetic beings, and we use our imagination, we use our higher energy to create new forms, which creates new realities. But we also must be consciously aware of the stories that we tell ourselves and of the self-talk that we have on a daily basis. We have to remember every day that child aspect. We have to honor that child aspect in the self, and we have to be loving and kind to it. Now, we're not always going to get it right. That's okay. We just be kind to ourselves, and we accept that, and we get back on track. So as we bring conscious aware to it, and we step into that divine parent aspect, and we do the work energetically, then we start to feel whole again. We raise our frequency, we raise our vibration, we're cleansing our energetic fields, we're becoming the masters of our energetic field, and therefore we change our reality, we shift our reality. So I asked you to get some pictures of when you were a child, so I want you just to get those pictures out now. I just want you to look at those pictures of you, or picture of you as a child, and I want you to look at that child. And I want you to see that that child is innocence. That child is enough. That child is purity. How can that child not be anything other than purity, than innocence, than enough? It was the illusion that taught us a lie. And now it's time to collapse that lie. Now it's time to tell ourselves the truth of who we are, because it takes a lot of energy to hold up the lie. And it doesn't take energy to move into the truth. And often people will hold up the lie because we've become so invested in the lie, and we wonder, who will we be without the lie? We are worried, we are actually afraid of our own light. Who we're going to be when the lie crumbles down. And we're obviously going to work on embodying and trusting our light in a later session, but I want you just to look at that child and see, you are enough. That child is enough, is innocence, and it's time for us to reclaim that innocence. Right, okay, so we are going to move into the hypnosis, but I just want to know, does people want to go for a wee first. If you want to either come off mute and tell me, or put it in the chat if you'd like to just have a wee, or whether you're okay to go straight on. Because I know it hasn't been as long this time, so it's up to you guys.
We're fine, so you can go. Where we don't need a wee or anything, so
Okay.
just want to be ready. Do you want me to put? Do you want me to put the camera on again?
You can do if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Claire, are you all right? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yeah, fine. Sorry, I just.
No, that's okay, hon.
Screen for.
Okay, perfect. Right.
Right, I do have the video on, but it's just my camera's really shit, so it's a bit. Oh,
You know, that's perfect. It just gives me a little bit of focus.
I'm sort of sitting back anyway.
That is perfect, honestly. That is absolutely perfect. So thank you.
Sorry, do you need the video on, Corinne?
You can do if you don't mind. It is nicer to do it to the video, but it's nicer to be able to see a little bit rather than. Right. Okay. Okay, great. Right, so I want to start with a little bit of movement. So first, we'll always start this way with a little stretch into the back, into the spine, into the neck, wherever it feels good, just to get that energy flowing through the spine. Okay, and then I'd like you to just settle into a comfortable position and just close your eyes to begin with. And just put your attention on your breathing. And you don't need to change the pace of it. I just want you to put your attention on it. I just want you to notice how it flows inwards and outwards in a circular-like motion, constantly flowing in and out without your conscious direction. And the air you breathe is a unique substance. And as you focus on it, perhaps you can connect to the form of it, because it's not nothingness. It's imbued with the intelligence of the universe. It's consciousness from the cosmos that you breathe into your beautiful body, and you circulate it back out into the cosmos. And when you breathe it in, you are activating parts of you. You are connecting in to a sea of consciousness. A sea of consciousness you cannot see with your physical eyes, but you can begin to perceive it in your body through feeling. And as you go deeper and deeper with me during this process of reconnection back to the true, unique, magnificent self, you will begin to connect more and more to this feeling. And as you continue to put your attention on your breathing, I'd like to take this opportunity to call back all of your energy, to call it back from any other place, from any other timeline, any other event or situation. Let's call it all back to the self, back to the center, calling it back to its rightful owner, so that all of your beautiful energy can powerfully assist us in the work we are undertaking here in the richness of your inner world, the world of true, lasting transformation. And in a few moments, I'm going to ask you to open up your eyes and look back as far as possible. And you remember already how to do this. And I want you to look up and back and strain those eyes as far back as possible. I want you to put in a little effort, and it will be the last moment of effort before you take a final deep breath in. You hold it for a second, and then you breathe out all tension from your day, from your week, from your body, and you automatically allow the eyes to close. And as the eyes close, you move into deeper relaxation, and it sends a wave of warm, relaxing energy from your head all the way to your toes, and it softens each and every muscle. So ready, opening up your eyes now, looking up high, so high, straining to see beyond the natural vantage point, out of sight, making contact now with true sight. Imagine, if you will, that you are looking up a vertical pillar of golden light, and you are making contact with your higher self. And you are calling it in for this most sacred work. Okay. Let's get ready now to take that final breath. So taking one final deep breath in and holding, and as you breathe out now, transitioning fully into allowing the eyelids to close down with the out breath. Closing down those eyelids. Feeling a deep relaxation taking root around the eyes and moving your focus from your head to your toes as a wave of warm, relaxing, golden energy moves throughout the whole body and takes you deeper and deeper, and a softening and a relaxing and a melting each and every muscle takes place. And a melting of each and every muscle deeper into the bed, into the couch, wherever you find yourself at this time, surrendering more and more. That's it. And you can let go now and just relax deeper and deeper, because there is absolutely nothing that you need to do. Just relax and allow my words to guide you. Just give me permission in your mind to work with your highest self by just saying yes in your mind. Okay. In a moment, we will begin to move a little deeper and then even deeper. And you may be aware of everything that I say, and you may not be. It really doesn't matter. You can stay with me throughout this whole process and be the observer, remaining focused on the breath, or your mind can drift off and rest. And right now, if you are staying with me, I'd like you to remember that you already constructed a spiral staircase within that descends down deeper into your heart space, your healing chamber. And as soon as you start to descend down, as I count backwards from 10 to 1, you automatically go 10% deeper than before. And this depth, well, it compounds every single time you come back here. And this energetic presentation, this pattern, this geometric form of the spiral staircase becomes more refined. And it reconstructs instantly as soon as you close your eyes. It's waiting. And anytime you want to relax deeply, to recharge, to regenerate the body, all bodies, even outside of this process, you can simply close your eyes and move yourself to the top of the spiral staircase in the center of your brain and begin to count down. So let's go. As you find yourself now at the center of your brain, at the top of the spiral staircase. And this staircase can present to you in any way. It can change color, fabric, shape every time you come back here, because it's limitless in its presentation. So right now you could choose a color for the carpet if it has one. You could choose a color for the walls. It doesn't have to match. There are no rules in your inner world. You are free, free to explore, free to discover new depths, free to change anything and everything that no longer fits. Perhaps there is a carpet so fluffy that half of you sinks into it as you step down deeper. One thing this spiral staircase is, though, is winding down deeper and deeper, descending down deep, very deep into your heart space, a gateway, a stargate. And soon as I count from 10 to 1, you can start moving down, spiraling down and round and round and down, deeper. And as you do this, you can have an awareness, a knowing. You just know that when I reach 0, you will be approaching again the safe, the warm, the comforting gateway that is your heart space. So ready. 10. Notice as you move down, as your feet touch the steps, a mist that you didn't notice before glows around you with a bright crystal violet colour. 9. As you take the next step and sink deeper, the mist becomes indigo in colour, and it feels like it's cleansing your energy in some way. 8. You feel absolutely safe here, comforted here, because no one, and I mean no one, can enter this space except that you give them permission to do so. And you only give permission to those with a pure heart, those that hold the highest intention for you. 7. Perhaps you can feel a sense of your awareness, your consciousness floating down, being guided down by the mist to the center of your chest. 6. As you move effortlessly with each breath, every heartbeat drawing you closer, deeper down, every muscle breathes a sigh of relief and softens and relaxes and lets go some more. 5. Remembering all you have to do is allow. And this can be very reassuring and comforting for you right now. Just allowing and being willing to trust the process, because you are safe. You are held right now. You are in a sacred container. 4. Spiraling round and down, deeper and deeper. And as you get ever closer to the gateway of your heart, you remember what it feels like to be so absorbed in a song, in a book, that all cares, all worries simply cease to exist in the space that you enter into now. 3. Because in this space, all cares, all worries are left outside of you, fading, as you are being carried by this warm, loving mist. 2. Allow yourself to relax to deeper levels that will get deeper every time you come back here. And you vow now to come back here often, to the space within where true transformation can and does occur now. 1. And as you round the last corner now and step down into the heart space, you step into an emerald green mist. This emerald green mist is glistening with diamond-like stars, and it feels familiar, like a long lost friend. And you become aware that you are floating, and it's carrying you deeper and deeper into your core, deeper and deeper into the center of your very being. And as you stand in the center of your very being, your body continues on its journey simultaneously of relaxing more and more, going deeper and deeper, moving into deep rest. You could become aware that the green emerald mist still around you moves out a little, creating a circle of pure divine white light around you. You are encircled by this light. You look down at your feet and you notice strings, musical strings moving from the edge of the center of the circle where you stand, out beyond what you can see, out into the distance, into the mist. And you notice that they are moving from the center out in all directions like spokes on a bike, in all directions. These strings are attached to the very core of your being, energetic strings. And you can feel a vibration starting to materialize under your feet. The strings are becoming electrified, bright light vibrating. You can almost hear a symphony begin to play a musical note. On varying points along these energetic strings of pure light, connected to your very core being, are parts of you, pieces of the missing puzzle, fragments of the soul, notes that create your true harmonic sound, your unique, magnificent masterpiece. These parts are your inner children, not only from this life, but from all lives. Your inner children that have felt abandoned, rejected, not enough, feeling shame, forgotten, not seen, denied, rejected, humiliated, unlovable, dirty, wrong, not able to speak truth, hurt, in deep sadness, stuck in the shadows, just out of sight, just out of reach for so long. They've been echoing along these strings, pulling at your heartstrings for some time. And I know you can feel their tug each day. You can feel their sometimes despair, their anguish, their exhaustion. For they've been waiting to be seen, waiting to be acknowledged, to be loved, to be accepted with compassion, to be set free to come home back to the center, to reunite in their true home within the circle, coming full circle back to the core of your very being. You have felt the echoes, have you not? Felt the pain of the separation from your wholeness. Felt the stirring of their cries in your mind. Spent years, perhaps even lifetimes, searching outside for the missing pieces. And it's okay to acknowledge the grief, the torment, the pain you have felt in this search. because your beautiful, innocent heart has been wounded, has carried many scars that push these parts of you further and further away. Now, though, you are being called to do this very special and sacred work. It is time. It is time of reconciliation of all aspects of self. It's time to reconcile with your innocence, with your sweet, caring, lovable inner children, with the shadow aspects that you have feared, parts of you thought were bad, so they were pushed away, drowned out, disconnected from, denied them, ran from them, because the illusion creates these fears. The illusion that we are born into time and time again makes you forget who you really are. But you are remembering now. Remember. Begin to reconnect to the truth. You are soul. You are truly magnificent, intelligent energy. You created this life, these challenges from your higher perspective. You created them to grow and to awaken. And whilst you knew you would go through pain, you also knew one day it would be this pain that woke you up and propelled you onto the next epic part of your journey of self-realization, where you would realize all the illusions about not being enough, and you would reclaim the truth, and you would bring back home all parts of you, where you would start to reclaim your mastery as a divine alchemist, as an energetic master, creating a perfect symphony within, singing your own unique perfect tune, because you are on a unique journey of expansion and growth. You are everything, and everything is you. And I will say this again because it is of the most import. You are everything, and everything is you. Now, this part is very beautiful because your inner children, the shadow parts that perhaps you cannot even name, well, they knew that you would come back for them. It was always meant to be this way. It's part of the divine plan, and you have followed your guidance system. You are already more connected than you may realize. It's just been muffled because of all the distorted energy that has been healed during this journey of reconnection. And your connection to your higher aspect is being grounded more and more into your body, into your energy field. With this conscious and subconscious work you are doing now is going to show itself to you more and more now. So it's time to meet. It's time to reconcile with your inner children, with the shadow selves. And you can know that. You can feel the presence of your higher self that's created a sacred container of light around you. So you can know that you are held. You are so held that you can just let go and allow yourself to be supported. Okay, so sending out now along the strings is our intention now to draw in those lost, abandoned, hurt, scared, lonely aspects of the divine child self, parts of you couldn't face, were scared to see, parts that you thought were wrong and bad, were not enough. Know that as we do this now, that you are safe. You are in a sacred space and you remember your highest self. It is with you. It is guiding this work. It has already lovingly put its arms around all parts of you and it is guiding them closer and closer to the center. Coming closer now. You may begin to feel the energy increase, move up a notch as they come closer and closer into your field. You may also feel some emotion. Whatever you feel, just allow it. Because some of these parts of you haven't felt close to you for thousands of years, possibly even longer. Some of these parts of you have been so alone, felt so abandoned, felt like they weren't enough. But that is not the truth. That is not them. That is not you. And I will repeat that again. That is not the truth. That was the illusion. Now, something kind of wonderful is going to happen now. As they come closer, they are all going to merge into one representation of the child. And I do not know how you will see this child, at what age this child will appear, but know that this child is all of your children, all of your shadow selves in one beautiful child presentation. On the count of 3, 2, 1, the child is with you. And I wonder what age they are. And I wonder what they are wearing. You instinctively reach out and let them know that they are safe. They are loved. And you hold out your arms and they move into the circle with you. So you are both together now in a deep embrace. And I'm going to be quiet for a few moments to give you just a little space to reunite. Now look deeply into their eyes. And as you look deeply into their eyes, you connect on a level beyond words. It's a feeling. It's energetic. They are a part of your soul. Many parts of your soul. You are reuniting with your soul. It's a very special moment. You are reuniting with your soul. Continue to look deeply into their eyes. You are communicating with them now through your telepathic connection, through energy. And you let them know that they are safe. It's really important here you embody the divine parent aspect of the self, and you express encouragement, nurturing, support, guidance, unconditional love. You let them know that they are deeply loved. They are loved unconditionally. You let them know that you love everything about them. And I mean everything. They are innocent. Tell them they are not bad and they are not wrong. They are special and unique. They are beautiful and courageous. Let them know that you are so proud of them. Tell them you never meant for them to feel abandoned or rejected or not enough. You can let them know that they are absolutely perfect. You fully and completely love and accept all parts of them. Let them know that you chose them. You chose them because they were and are perfect for you and everything you desired to experience in this now reality. Let them know that they are beautiful inside and out, and that they inspire you with their bravery and with their courage. You are truly seeing now with the eyes of the divine parent just how strong, just how courageous, just how light and loving they really are. You admire them, you are proud of them. And what you really notice right now in this moment is their innocence, their purity. Really notice it, really notice the pure innocence of the divine child within. It deserves to be loved, it deserves to be protected, to be told every single day that it is enough, it is lovable, it is worthy. Because they were never bad, they were never wrong, they were innocent. And any belief that ever had you thinking that they were not enough was an illusion. And that illusion is being dissolved right now in this moment, because it cannot exist in the light of truth. When you now remember the truth, when you wake up to the truth, when you make a choice right now to embody the truth, that all those old things that you once thought of the self, well, that was never you. And it will never be you, ever again. You are innocent. And you are both beautiful in your uniqueness and beautiful in your connection to all others who are you, who are also unified with you in the sea of consciousness. Now, I'm going to be quiet again for a few moments, and I'd like you to ask them if there is anything that they are scared of. Ask them what they need from you as their loving parent. And now step in closer and step up now in consciousness as the divine parent aspect and reassure them, nurture them, give them what they need right now to know that they are enough and that they are safe to come home. Okay, one last thing. I'd like you to ask them what words they most needed to hear as a child, but either never heard those words or didn't hear them enough. And then I want you to say those words with feeling, with intent. Okay, great. Now ask them what they love to do, what fills them with absolute bliss, love, and joy. And look them deep in their eyes and make a vow to them to make space for those things, because you matter, because you are important, because you will never abandon the self again. You will never reject the self again. You will never muffle the self again. Let them know that they are unconditionally loved, that you are remembering your role as the loving parent. You are remembering the Holy Trinity, and you are stepping into your God, Goddess energy, reclaiming your birthright as a divine being of the cosmos. Tell them that you remember. You are remembering who you are, and they are safe now to come home. That you have also been waiting for them. That you have been making space and clearing out old emotions that once pushed them away, to make space for them to come home where they belong. Make a vow now to listen to their needs, to nurture them, to hear them, to see them, to always acknowledge them. And this is of the most import, to speak to them with so much loving kindness, with compassion, with understanding, with pure acceptance, even in those moments that you don't feel good. In fact, especially in those moments, you will give them even more love, even more nurturing. Because you are all three aspects. You are the divine mother. You are the divine father. And the divine child, and alchemy is taking place now as you merge these aspects back, creating the Holy Trinity inside. So notice the circle changes to the triangle. And at one point you stand, at the other point your child stands, and now at the other point your higher self stands. You all hold hands. You feel the unconditional loving frequency flowing between each of you, infusing every cell in your body. Every cell lights up. Your whole energy field is being filled up with this pure, divine, unconditional love. It's dissolving and it's melting all lower energies, all false programs that ever had you thinking that you weren't enough. They are melting, melting, melting. And as they melt, melt, melt in the light of truth, in the reconnection back, you can begin to feel lighter and lighter and lighter. You can feel lifted. And you can just breathe into this and allow this to fully integrate into your body. And I'm going to be quiet again for a few moments whilst this integration takes place. Now, as this integration takes place, joy is rushing in, peace is rushing in, bliss, charge, love, light, love frequencies begin to vibrate through your heart strings, along the sides of the triangle, around the circle, and in the center point, the nexus point, the 0 point field of all possibilities, merging, uniting, becoming one again, becoming whole again, reclaiming the self, realizing the self, loving the self fully, all of the self, the light and the dark, because it all comes from the light. It is one. It is the yin and the yang. One cannot exist without the other. No more having to deny the dark, because it's been integrated with the pure light, the true self essence right now. And you can just breathe it into every cell. An implosion is beginning to take place inside. Now it's time for the three to become one. Ask the child, are they ready? They can know now that they can merge into your heart. Every day you will remember their innocence. Every day you will remember and embody compassion, understanding, unconditional love for the self. You will carry it with you into all interactions. Every time you look in the mirror, you will remember who you really are. You will begin again to feel whole. All those old programs will fade more and more, becoming a faint echo, until one day, not long from now, you are no longer tuned into that old tired frequency anymore. You can only hear the harmony of the Holy Trinity connected as one. So on the count of three, the child will melt into your energy field and will take up space within your heart. 3, 2, 1, merging now, infusing, entwining, becoming a golden string within your heart, one that plays the notes of harmony, of peace, of love, of acceptance, of the glorious self, one that honors the self above all else, one that honors the self. And don't be surprised if you start to experience more and more waves of joy, of bliss, of playfulness in your coming days and weeks and months and years, as you remain loyal and devoted to the self. As you start this journey now of self-honoring, of no longer remaining loyal to the lies, of becoming a seeker of the truth. You ask yourself this question: why would I hold on to the lie of not being enough when the truth of who I am is so much more beautiful? The truth is, I am a powerful, multi-dimensional being. I am the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is within. I am the divine innocent child. I am the divine parent, the balanced divine masculine, the balanced divine feminine, coming together and working as a whole. I am the higher self. Okay, great. And you have done some really profound work here today. And I'd like to ask you to come back here again and to go through this process again a few more times, so that you can be sure that you have brought back all parts of you. For in this one moment, you have reconciled with many, perhaps all. That coming back allows you more focused, sacred time, more deep connection with the inner self, with the inner child, reconstructing the Holy Trinity within. Okay, so now it's time to come back up the spiral staircase and come back to full conscious awareness. But before we do, I would like to thank your higher self for allowing me to assist in this sacred process today, because it has been an honor. So thank you. So I'm going to count up from 1 to 10. And as I count up, From 1 to 10, you can start to ascend back up the spiral staircase. And as you ascend back up the spiral staircase, you will bring with you all those feelings of unconditional love. You will feel held, you will feel supported, and you will bring your conscious awareness back into the room that you are in, back to full conscious awareness. So ready. 1, 2, 3, starting to move back up the spiral staircase. 4, 5, 6, bringing your awareness back into the body, back into the room that you are in. 7, 8, becoming more and more aware, becoming more and more awake. 9, 10, you can start to open those eyes now, and you can start to stretch in to the body.